Hello and hello, live in both spots. Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Black Cat Comics Comic Shop Chat, brought to you by Black Cat Comics and Rockin Milpitas. I'm Mark.
I'm Francie.
And we're just here to help you pass the time. Perhaps you're sheltered in place or whatever you're doing to stay safe and stay sane these days. We're here to bring you a little levity, a little entertainment, a little comic shop talk.
Yes.
So welcome. Thanks for joining us. We've got quite a bit of things to talk about. There's a lot going on these days.
Tons.
And a lot going on in the world of comics. First and foremost, I guess, is the big news. The big news is that this week was the last shipment of new comics to comic shops for a while. New comics, most of the publishers have ceased publication, giving us all some time to get through the hubbub. So we're here to talk a little bit about what that means to the industry, what it means to us, what it means to you, all that good stuff. Feel free. This conversation is entirely interactive. We want to hear your questions, comments, all that good stuff. So throw them at us. Again, we know there's a lot going on these days. You have a lot of questions about new comics and all this kind of thing. So feel free to throw them at us while we're getting going. Do you want to start us off?
So a lot of folks have been asking how we're going to manage, given that Diamond, the major distributor, the only distributor of comics, is stopping production. We personally actually think it's a really good idea. Pumping new product into stores that have closed week after week after week just adds to stress levels for us, because those are still bills we have to pay. That's still product that's coming in with no customers to come into the shops to buy them. So we actually think it's a really good thing. On a larger scale, a lot of publishers have stepped up even before Diamond had shut down distribution to say we're going to stop pushing our books. We're going to delay the releases for a couple of months until this is all done. So a lot of publishers like Image, I think Boom Studios, slowing down production ahead of time anyway. So having it be a full stop for all comic book shops, I think is a really good thing. So that means not just us, right? But worldwide, every single comic shop, no new comics for the foreseeable future.
Gives us all a chance to catch our breath.
Yeah.
Gives us a chance to process the things that we've got going on. A lot of shops are just straight up closed completely. So they obviously aren't even there to be receiving shipments. A lot of shops are shut down and working on a bare minimum. And so, like you say, just don't want to have all this extra inventory piling up. And so I think for the most part, most of us retailers probably think this is a good idea. Like everything in comics, there's probably a lot of retailers who feel very differently, who need that weekly shipment. Their stores open and then their customers are all coming in every Wednesday, just like always. So they don't maybe necessarily agree with this. But for those of us in the zone, I think we're all very grateful to kind of get a bit of a hiatus.
Yeah, and we're actually putting as much stuff online as we can. So we've got, hundreds of thousands of books here waiting to be read. So if there's anything that you guys want us to see, put online first, let us know, because we're trying to prioritize trying to figure out what people might like to see. Trades, Batman titles, more pops, certain titles. So give us some feedback as to what kind of things you'd like to see online, and we'll prioritize that ahead of everything else.
Which is a great segue into one of the big points of today's episode. Is there is lots and lots of stuff that you can keep doing in comics, tons and tons of ways you can have fun in comics without new comics showing up every week. We're going to talk about all kinds of different dynamics working in that respect. Like I say, first and foremost, you can still get lots of comics you haven't read. Go to black-cat-comics.com, hit the shop button.
Shop.
And there's all kinds of things that would be new to you. And that's a lot about what we're going to talk about today.
So yeah, we're pretty much up and running with the online store. So we've got a ton of stuff out there. We've got everything that's available from this week and everything that's available from last week is on the online store. And like I said, I'm working really hard to put as many back issues as I can. So if you could help me prioritize, that would be great.
There's tons of current comics, modern comics, all kinds of fun things that you can pick up that will keep you busy during these downtimes.
That's right. Yep. Tons of stuff.
And lots of other things you can be doing too. Like I say, the whole point of this show is to bring some fun to you, give you some ideas of things that you can be doing, having fun with comics during these crazy times.
So, anybody have any questions about what's going on? I know we've gotten a lot of phone calls, a lot of emails. We're doing okay. We were fortunate enough to buy the building that we're in a couple years ago, so we don't have to worry about a landlord. Really don't have that many expenses, and so we will be fine. So I want you to rest assured that once the shelter in place is lifted, we will still be here ready to service you.
And to that point, I want to assuage, if that's the word, a few fears about the industry at large. First and foremost, this is not the end of new comics. It is not the end of publishing. It is not the end of the comic book industry. If this goes on 3 months, 6 months, however long it goes on, comics will return. So whatever you're reading about the doom and gloom of the industry at this stage, I wouldn't put too much stock in that. There's too many people involved, too many artists, creators, publishers, too much money to be made in the weekly comics pizzazz to let it just disappear. And to that point, my second point is digital comics. Everything is not going digital. There's a lot of talk about that. And let me say, obviously, I don't know anything about the publishers, what their plans are. Second, I can only speak for myself and what I see in my umpteen years in this industry. It seems to me that the publishers are very aware that we want our paper comics, that we want the floppies, we want the trades. If digital were more profitable than print, they would have done it a long time ago. Yeah. They would have kicked us to the curb already. Parentheses, I like to say, I have no negative opinion of digital comics. To me, digital comics are the modern spin rack. It's great access to the collecting comics and love of comics and all that. I don't have anything against people buying digital comics, reading digital comics. I have nothing against the production of digital comics, none of that. I'm just here again to settle your fears for folks like me who love comics, that the publishers will get their thing going again. They're plotting right now other ways that they can get the distribution going back up safely and soundly. Just like I say, wanted to open with new comics will be back. The publishers will be back cranking out new stories. Take a deep breath. So all those things that you read, take with a grain of salt. Just bide your time and do some of these other things we're going to be talking about while you're waiting for new comics to return.
And speaking of digital, I've always felt that the digital customer is a different customer than the print and paper customer. So those of us that have grown up reading the print copies, it's really hard for us to transition into digital. I've looked at it, it's interesting, but it's just a different medium, which I think appeals to a different audience, an audience different from you guys that come into the shop that want the actual tangible paper.
So comics are on hiatus. They're coming back. What do we do in the meantime? Well, like I say, first and foremost, we told you can pick up all kinds of things that are new to you at black-cat-comics.com. We'll talk more about that in just a minute. A couple of things I'd like to say is that all the tons and tons of fun of comics is in your house right now, is already sitting in your collection. Two big things I want to throw out there, and I talked a little bit about this last week. One, catch up on your current stuff. Yeah. Every week, everybody's telling me how far behind on their books, but they're buying their new books, but they still haven't read last week's or last month's or whatever have you. First and foremost, catch up on your new stuff. We all have a stack of either new books or some old books we picked up at the last toy show or whatever have you. We've all got stuff sitting that we haven't read yet.
Boxes and boxes.
And secondly, if by some miraculous stretch you have caught up on all your stuff and you've read all your comics, go back and reread your favorites. Reread those classics. Remind yourself of why you love Fantastic Four, why you love John Byrne, why you love whatever it is, why you love Hellblazer. Go back and read some of those classic arcs. One thing I always say here in the shop: the value of your collection is not in the resale; it's in the rereading.
Yeah, that's right.
The value of your collection is, you pay $4 for a comic and you read it. You paid $4 to read that comic. But if you read it twice, you paid $2 each time. You read it 4 times, you only paid $1 each time you read it, etc., etc. People ask me, what's the most valuable comic book you have? The most valuable comic book I have is Avengers number 172, because I paid 40 cents for it and I've read it 100,000 times. That means I've gotten 100,000 times 40 cents value out of that comic. That's Kazi math. So anywho, like I say, reread those classics, reread the stuff you love, and remind yourself why you loved it in the first place.
Yes.
And in doing those things, you'll find holes that you have in your collection. You'll be reminded of things. Oh, yeah, I never did read War of Realms. I didn't read Heroes in Crisis. Bam, now you're on the website ordering yourself some new comics to read for New Comic Book Day.
So just as an example, I'm sure you each have stories just like this. I've been collecting the original run of Hellblazer for probably 20 years now. And when we went to Chicago Comic-Con, I finally filled my run from 1 to 100. So now I've been reading them from start to finish. Some of them for the first time. Some of them I'm rereading them. And boy, is that a treat right now. That precedes Garth. Super duper good. This Jamie guy, man, he's a poet, absolute poet. So if you like the spooky, you like the weird, you like the magical, you like the horror stuff, make sure you pick up some of the original Constantines. I'll look and see what we have as far as trades and put whatever I can online as well.
Great stuff. And like I say, it reminds you of everything that you love about comics. You see the different artists you mentioned going back before Garth Ennis, and that's something we all do. You go back to buy some comics and you buy the hot arc,
right.
You buy Batman Hush. But you don't pay too much attention to the arc before, the arc after. But if you're someone who follows a series, collects a series, then you know all those little ins and outs and this writer and that artist and what have you. And that's a lot of fun.
So what are you guys collecting right now, or what are you anxious to catch up on as you're staying at home right now?
Anybody plowing a big stack of current books, happy to be catching up on their Green Lanterns or Avengers or what have you?
I've still got a lot of Batman, Scott Snyder's to read too.
There's a lot of Batman, a lot of detective to be found. Good stuff. This was a good week of comics. A good week to go out on. If this is the one that's going to be it for a while, we got amazing Action Detective and Wonder Woman. So those 4 books right there.
Wolverine,
that's good stuff.
X-Men, Hellions, Immortal Hulk. There's a Hellblazer right there.
So like I say, this hiatus of new comics gives us a chance to do all kinds of things. Gives you a chance to, again, fill the holes that you missed. Go back through those runs and then find the ones that got by you. It gives you a chance it reminds you of the things that you let pass you by. Like I say, that event book. Or, everybody's talking about Detective, but I'm already reading Batman. Well, now you can go back and read Detective. And there's all kinds of other things you can do. First, and there's so much opportunity. We all, with the nature of weekly comics and the nature of collecting comics, loving comics, puts us all in a rut. It's a fantastic rut that we all love, but it's a rut nonetheless. I read Captain America. I read everything with Captain America on it.
Yes.
And so my budget is maximized. My time is maximized with all these books that I'm already following. And you're the same way. There's the books you like, the creators you like, all these things that you like. Well, now you have a chance to catch up on all of that. Now you're done with all of that. So discover some new things. Get out there and find a new publisher, a new title, a new character, a new writer, a new artist. We all have a favorite writer that we like. And I can name 50 of them working right now. Tom King, Jeff Johns, Brian Michael Bendis, whoever your writer is. Artist works the same way. We all have favorite artists, and we buy whatever it is that artist does. A lot of us have publisher allegiance. We buy every book that Marvel puts out. We love everything that Valiant does, and all of those things are awesome. And as I always say, you can fill your time and your budget and love every minute of it doing those things. But now, with no new source of that coming at you, there are hundreds, thousands of all of those things that you're not currently aware of. There's tons of writers, tons of artists out there that you haven't heard of. And if you discover them, you'll love them just as much as you love your favorite current creator. So now is an excellent opportunity to get out there and find that writer, find that artist. Publisher works the same way. You can go back. I have 15 years of weekly videos on the YouTube channel. Go back and then watch some of those videos, and whatever image book I'm talking about in that video, check out that image book. Whatever dynamite book I'm talking about in the video, check out that dynamite book. Like I say, whatever you're married to right now, that new thing isn't coming down. So find another new thing, find another a new favorite. There's lots of new favorites out there to be found.
A lot of folks right now too are going through their old bags and boards and rebagging and boarding everything. So within the next couple of days, I'll start putting up supplies on the online store. Current bags, silver bags and boards, resealable bags. I've got those as well. So any supplies that you like to see online, drop us a note and let us know so I can prioritize that as well.
And that's another thing that comes at you as you're doing your rebagging and boarding.
Ooh.
You'll find
rid of those brown cardboard.
Get rid of those brown boards. And again, you'll find holes in your runs that you need to have filled. You'll find damaged books that you want to upgrade. Again, you'll realize not just what's there, but what's not there. And that will send you off in new directions. And it's great to get your stuff rebagged and boarded. It's great to get your stuff organized. You know, one of the best things I ever did.
Ooh, dividers. I should put dividers on mine too.
Just segueing into that, is knowing what's in those boxes is such a treat. It took me years and years to fix my disastrous lack of organization. But once I did, I have all these long boxes in drawers, and they're all labeled. And so when I think to myself, I want to go back and read that Avengers 172 for the 200,000th time, I can walk right to that Avengers box that has those numbers in it, pull it out, grab that book. And again, this is a great time to do that because you're stuck at home. Just you and all those comics. So it's a great time to organize.
That's right. Anybody have any comments or questions about what we talked about so far? The industry, Michael Haidt, Farhan, long mile high email says the big companies that own the publishers. So I hope you're right. Yeah, you know, what did Will Eisner say a long time ago? Something's been trying to kill comics for the last 80 years. Every 10 years or so, there's been something that's been trying to kill comics, but we keep surviving. And so it might not look the exact same. Not all publishers might survive this. Not all shops might survive this, but comics as a whole, as a medium, will definitely survive this.
As a medium, as an art form. And you know, it's an important point. You know, there's a lot made of Disney owning Marvel, and now AT&T owns Warner Brothers, that owns DC, and these big corporate decision makers. But again, one constant that I've seen, and I know that Disney understands the value of this, is that comics produces material, produces content for them. Story creation, new characters, all those sorts of things. It's a great way for them to mine entertainment without getting a bunch of writers in a room and paying them to waste time and eat Chinese food. And so it's very much in the interest of the big two to keep comics going. Again, there will be a lot of change. I don't think for a minute that if this goes on 3 months, 6 months, I don't think for a minute that this isn't going to come out unscathed,
right?
Or that everything's going to immediately bounce back to the way it always was. But I still think that there will be people out there making comics, and we'll be here selling those comics, no doubt about it.
That's right. That's right.
Because, as we say, comics has survived a lot of other things besides this. So we talked about new publishers, new characters, new creators. One thing you can also do that this is a great time for is trying out new kinds of comics. And what I mean by that is folks read new comics, or folks read vintage comics, or folks read just trade paperbacks. Branch out a little bit. Like I say, we all have our habits and the things that we do, those things that we love doing. But again, there's 8 decades of comics out there that even guys like me don't know anything about. I don't know anything about Golden Age books. I don't own any Golden Age books. So now might be a great time to pick up a couple trade paperbacks of some cool golden oldies and learn myself something about the original classics. Just as an example, like I say, you can pick up any cool old classic comic. Just give it a read. You don't know much about 60s books, pick up a 60s book. You don't know much about 90s books, pick up a 90s book. Again, there's whole worlds, whole universes of things out there to be explored. And I'll be here I've done a new comic video every single Wednesday forever. I'll be back next Wednesday.
Are you?
Yep. It'll be a bit of a retro. It'll be new to you comic day. And we're going to talk about things, current comics you can get into, vintage comics you can get into, classic trades, whatever it might be.
Awesome sauce.
It's like I say, just because they're not printing the next issue of your favorite comic doesn't mean there's not new comics out there.
I have a question. So for all of you watching right now and in the future, those of you that are reading Batman, which run do you like better? Scott Snyder or Tom King?
Tough one.
Scott Snyder or Tom King? Who did Batman better? Talk amongst yourselves.
We'll let you chew on that for just a minute. What else is going on in the world of comics these days? Seems so much.
What should we talk about?
Maybe.
So we have been working for probably 2 years now on our own comic. We've got 2 that we're working on. One that's called Black Cat Tales, which are fictional stories of horror and mayhem, and Black Cat Chronicles, which are retelling of real life horror stories. And the main narrator is, guess what? Black Cat. It's kind of like a la Crypt Keeper, a la Tales from the Crypt, and the Black Cat kind of narrates you through each of the different scenes that are happening in historical context. Super excited about that. We've been working on a couple of scripts.
Oh, lost our Facebook video. We'll be back up in just a second.
Sorry about that.
There it is.
I don't know what's going on with Facebook.
And like last week, if you missed something, we'll post the full video when it's all done here.
Yeah, so we were talking about Black Cat Chronicles. We're working on that. We've got a couple of artists that we've been working with, but if any of you are interested in helping us with the art, email us at info@black-cat-comics.com, and we'd love to hear from you.
So we're not just comic retailers. We're going to be getting into comic publishing. That's how much we love comics.
So if anything, there will at least be some comics.
So yes, at some point we will be producing the new comics if there are no other new comics to be produced. So don't you worry, we'll be here to satisfy those needs.
Yep.
And as I said, we're going to be here through the duration, boring you with shows like this. Coming at you with
maybe
just
you
fun ways to pass the time with comics. So besides reading Hellblazer, what else have you been reading, and what other comic ways have you been passing the pandemic time?
Mostly catching up on my current comics, as you mentioned. You know, I've got a run of all the 100-page giants. I got a big stack of those, so those have been really fun to check out. I've been reading. Let's see what else.
How you doing, Marco? Welcome.
What's up, Marco? Let's see, what else have I been reading? Let me think. I've got, like I said, I haven't finished Scott Snyder's run of Batman, so I'll probably go through that and start reading where I left off and finishing that run. I've got all the Batman Eternals I have to read still too.
Oh, that goes back.
And it does go back. I'm old, dude. Yeah, I think that. Ooh. And I've got some old Swamp Things. So just like Hellblazer, I've been collecting Swamp Things for years and years. So I've got a nice chunky run now put together that I can start from beginning to, I don't know, like 30 issues or something like that. So that's going to be fun.
Sadly, the hiatus doesn't change too many things for me because at any given time, I'm working on new titles, old titles, and organization projects. At any given time, I'm doing all of the things that I'm suggesting that you folks do during your downtime. For current things, among 50 things, Immortal Hulk. Immortal Hulk is one of my favorite current books running right now. Super stoked to be catching up on Immortal Hulk. I'm not, I say in the video all the time, I'm not traditionally a Hulk guy, but Immortal Hulk has been awesome. I'm glad you busted that out. It was the Alex Ross covers that got me into the title. Like I say, nothing against Hulk or Hulk fans or anything like that. I love the Peter David stuff, all that good stuff. But it's just, you know, not my main guy. But I saw that Alex Ross cover, picked that up. And I fell in love with the title and have been reading it all since.
Marco, we mentioned in the previous video that got cut off what's going on with Diamond and all that stuff, so you can check out the earlier version of the video after this.
Yep. And so Immortal Hulk, among many things, Immortal Hulk for Marvel and all the Superman stuff for DC is the current stuff that I'm plowing through right now, just because I'm already caught up with Avengers and Cap and Fantastic Four and all those kind of things.
I have a question.
Okay.
What are the Marvel snapshots? Like, are these like reprints or what's going on with these things?
Okay, so
what's the deal? Yeah, sorry, Michael.
Give me just
I have no
a second and I'll be back.
Yes, Michael, we'll have the full video up later.
Here's visuals.
Oh, visual aids. I love visual aids.
Back in the day,
you
had never heard of Alex Ross.
Who hasn't heard of Alex Ross?
Back in the day, you had not heard of Alex Ross until you saw Marvels.
Heresy.
Marvels was the book that showed everybody who Alex Ross was. Perhaps you didn't know.
That predates Kingdom Come?
Yes, and by a long shot. So you might have known a guy by the name of Kurt Busiek because he was doing a book called Astro City, and he'd been one of the great writers of comics for a long time. Anyway, Kurt Busiek and Alex Ross got together and did a book called Marvels, and it brilliantly walked you through the early days and key moments of the Marvel Universe. And that launched the career of Alex Ross and all that kind of stuff, and it's one of the all-time great books.
Soon to be on the online store.
So yes, pick that up. It's an all-time classic. So now is like the 20th or 25th anniversary of that book. Last year they did Marvel's Annotated. This is your Black Cat pack of Marvel's Annotated.
Hey, Kazi, what's a Black Cat pack?
A Black Cat pack is a pack of comics that contains the same material as a trade paperback.
Show the side.
With these cool Black Cat sticker binders. And what I do, I make these little packs to show you that comics are awesome, and give you the covers and give you all the original content that the trade paperbacks don't give you.
So is that a full run?
So it's a complete run, everything that you would see in the trade. So anyway, this is Marvel's Annotated, which is that same book. And now following up on this, they are doing, oops, I need one more visual aid.
One more visual aid.
So you saw Marvel is kind of the sequel. Perhaps you saw Marvel's X, which is something a little different but similar. So Marvel is kind of the sequel to Marvels that I just talked about. And these snapshots go along with the Marvel book. Basically, they're just, where's the one you had?
I put it back.
They're just, they're brand new stories that show you key moments in the history of these characters. This shows you key moments from the golden age of the Submariner. A lot of people don't know that the Submariner is Marvel's original superhero. Appeared in Marvel Comics #1, blah, blah, blah. And so obviously, even in continuity, harkens back to the golden age, and that's what this shows you. Then this shows you some Fantastic Four stuff from the 60s. Just little snippets from
new storylines,
new stories. That show you little snippets from the history of the Marvel Universe. They're tons of fun. The creative teams were curated by Kurt Busiek and Alex Ross. and
So like the Neil Gaiman Sandman universe stuff.
similar to that kind of idea. And so, like I say, you just get you get brand new stories about about the history of some of your favorite Marvel characters. And like Immortal Hulk, it's worth it just for the covers. Alex Ross is one of the all-time greats. Everybody talks about Alex Ross. One of the things I like to say about him, like a lot of guys in comics, we're lucky to have him. Somebody that can make art like this. Can make real money doing something else, but instead he chooses to work in comics because he loves it. And there are a lot of folks like him.
Why don't you tell your Alex Ross story?
Okay, I will. So back when WonderCon was in Oakland, many years ago, it was after Marvels and the year before Kingdom Come. And back then in comics, comics were very slow back then, and comics were struggling. It's okay. Here we are with no new comics next week. 1998 was even worse. Anyway, so I was at WonderCon, and there was like 3 guests.
That was like
there.
1995 or 4.
It was probably 90. I don't know. No, if it was Marvel's. Yeah, but it was the year before Kingdom Come, so it was probably 94, 95. Anyway, WonderCon was dead that year, and it was kind of sad. So here was Alex Ross's table, and there was nobody there. And so I stopped to just tell Alex Ross how awesome he was, how much I enjoyed Marvels and loved his work and all that kind of thing. We got to talk, and he had a ton of Kingdom Come.
He had long hair, right?
Yes, he did have long hair, some t-shirt, just some dude hanging out like comic book guys were back then. And he had a whole bunch of Kingdom Come promotional stuff, and he's signing things and gave me a couple sketches and whatever. And I'm like, okay, whatever. I wasn't here for free stuff. I just wanted to BS a little bit.
But he was cool.
He was super cool.
Yeah.
And then we hung out for quite some time. Well, obviously that next year, Kingdom Come became one of the biggest things in comics. And I was super sad. And I haven't seen Alex Ross in person since.
Well, he came that year, and I remember he cut his hair.
Yeah.
And he was in a suit.
Yeah, that next year he was at San Diego Comic-Con, all suit and tie guy, had his entourage and the whole thing. And I knew him when. But anywho, yeah, that was super cool. One of the many reasons I encourage people to get out to shows and talk to people and whatever, because you never know what's going to happen to folks. And I still have all that Kingdom Come signed stuff somewhere in my labeled promo box because I took the time to organize my stuff. So yeah, that was super cool. And like I say, like a lot of people, I follow everything he does. If you haven't read Kingdom Come, and that's a great segue. So I always turn things, I'm the kind of guy that sells things every chance he gets.
He does.
Kingdom Come is a fantastic example of what everybody always talks about in comics. If you don't own the trade paperback, you need to own the trade paperback. If you own the trade paperback, or even if you don't, you need to own the single issues. I think it was only like a 4 or 6 issue story. Only the first one is probably expensive. Every collection should have original copies of Kingdom Come. It's one of the best comics of all time.
And that's a great one to reread right now because it's so heavy. There's so much stuff that you lose at least 30% of it the first time you read it.
I reread that fairly often, actually. It's in my flight bag whenever I'm traveling to places like C2E2. I bring a trade like that. And yeah, again, that's a good segue for, during these times, it's a great time to reread those all-time classics or go through your stack of all-time classic trades, figure out which ones you need in that stack and pick those up.
What are some of your guys' favorites that you like to read and reread?
Favorite Alex Ross stuff, perhaps. Earth X is one. Earth X is a fantastic book to read over and over again. Marvels that I mentioned, Kingdom Come, of course. He's got an old school Terminator book that's really good too.
It's good stuff.
So I mentioned Immortal Hulk was my current book. John Byrne's Fantastic Four is my classic reread. I have 3 complete runs. One's in my collection. One I just keep in a short box of stuff that I can periodically read.
I'm counting the number of times he touches his face.
I feel free to touch my face. Dun, dun, dun. Yeah, I pack everything and ship everything. And why are our faces considered diseased? I don't understand.
I don't know what the hell's happening. I don't get it.
I don't know. I keep touching my face and I still don't get sick. So I don't. Anyway,
hey, don't tempt fate like that. My God.
But so yes, and Star Wars, Marvel's Star Wars is the other classic run that I'm reading right now. That's a ton of fun.
You know what's really good, and it was really underrated, and it came and went too quickly. If you're a horror fan like myself, pick up the New 52's Animal Man and Swamp Thing runs. So good. I love those.
Yeah.
Kirby's Fourth World, Swamp Thing. Yeah, Swamp Thing for sure, Michael. Michael, you'd really like the Jeff Lemire Animal Man stuff I was talking about. So good. I think the first 12 issues were just perfection.
I'm glad you mentioned that, actually, because I can throw out a really broad net and say every New 52 Volume 1 is a book that you would read and enjoy.
Yes.
Every one of them. And yeah, the Infinity stuff, that's true. Talk about all that. I've got it right up there behind me. Infinity Gauntlet 1 through 6. New 52. So, yes, they ended the New 52 and launched Rebirth, and like everything in comics, there's strong opinions about this, that, and the other thing. But if you're looking for something new to read, if you're looking for something to pass the time, order any Volume 1 from the New 52 stuff, and you're going to enjoy that book. The Aquaman one, one of the best Aquaman trades you'll ever read. The Catwoman one.
Judd Winnick.
Was steamy. On and on I could go. I loved the launch of New 52 across the board. The Green Lantern Sinestro book, for example, was such a great, cool new look at Green Lantern. On and on I could go. So like I say, to throw out this huge recommendation, there's I don't know, 26 of those. I don't know how many different series they did to launch New 52.
Wasn't it 52
probably 52
titles?
of them. And like I say, I loved the whole launch. A lot of the books didn't keep going. A lot of the books don't even have a Volume 2, like Static Shock and some other things.
Well, they went 12 issues, I think. I think most of them went at least 12 issues, so that would be 2 volumes.
For whatever reason, all the Volume 1s of New 52 is good stuff. And honestly, Rebirth works the same way. I was really, really impressed with the launch of Rebirth, but it didn't grab me line wide like the New 52 stuff. So like I say, if you're looking to just grasp at straws and pick up something new, fun, and exciting, any New 52 Volume 1 is going to be worth a read.
I love the New 52 brought new energy and yeah, sure did.
Yeah, it really did. All those books have a lot of energy.
Speaking of New 52, which was kind of Dan Didio's child project, I wonder if he's sitting back going, there's no new comics. They fire me, look what happens.
And the whole industry died within weeks. Yeah.
He must be stoked that he's not in it anymore right now.
Norlito mentioned the Infinity stuff, and yes, anything with Adam Warlock. And that's another very broad.
The new movie stuff?
No. It will be.
Like the Guardians 3 or something?
Well,
spoilers? I don't know.
Let's just say that the thing you see at the end of Guardians 2 is tremendously interesting. I'll just is it Guardians 2?
Yeah. Yep.
That's very interesting. So to that point, yes, anything much like New 52 Volume 1s, anything written by Jim Starlin is going to be a book that you want to read. He himself wrote just about anything you've ever seen with Thanos in it, and in a lot of ways, through different titles like the Thanos books and the old school Captain Marvel and all the stuff, he kind of maintains one giant theme, one giant story through the whole thing. You don't need to read the whole thing. One thing I was going to mention through all of this is that single issues matter. You can really only read all of the one issue should be good enough. But if you follow all the stuff through, well, like I say, it starts in Iron Man 55, an old school Bronze Age classic. That's the first appearance of Thanos. And it goes through different titles and of course culminates in Infinity Gauntlet and Crusade and all the stuff and keeps on going into the modern times and Infinity and all this other stuff. But Jim Starlin's one of those creators. If the only thing you ever read was stuff written by Jim Starlin, you would have an awesome comic book collection of stuff that you could read and reread over and over again. So that's a great tip, Norlito. Thank you for that.
Yes.
And trying to think of a couple very broad. Well, as far as vintage comics, another thing I always say is any 40-cent comic, any Marvel or DC book that has a 40-cent cover price, buy that book. You will enjoy reading that book. 40-cent cover price only lasted a couple of years, but it's this beautiful piece of time where all the classic guys are still working and all the soon-to-be classic guys are just coming into the biz. And so, like I say, get online, find yourself any Marvel or DC book that has a 40-cent cover price, buy that book, and you'll be like, hey, Kazi's right. Who's this Jim Aparo guy? I say that's a... Again, while we're on a hiatus, it's a great time to try new things, to shoot in the dark. And I want to kind of get a little deeper into that one thing to say, single issues matter. You can do two things that are easy and tons of fun. One is grab any old book for time immemorial. And it's less true now than it used to be because we do these 6-issue, 12-issue, 24-issue story arcs. So we've gotten far away from the single issue story, but it's still true. The single issue, this is the one where Rogue joins the X-Men. This is X-Men 171. This is where Rogue, well, in fact, since I have them up here, let me give you the timeline. This is Avengers Annual number 10. This is the first appearance of Rogue. This is the one, spoiler, 40-year-old spoiler. This is the one where Rogue steals Miss Marvel's powers. And of course, Miss Marvel was a big time Avenger. And so that happens in this Avengers book. Well, the next time you see Rogue is in X-Men 171, where she tries to join the X-Men because she can't handle having Carol Danvers' brain in her brain. So she goes to Chuck and for help. So anyway, what's my point? My point is, this is X-Men 171. You don't need to have read 170 or the other 170 issues. You don't need to read 173 or 172 or keep going. You can just pick up this one. Read this book. It's its own self-contained universe, and it's awesome. And every comic book ever should really work like that, even the new ones. It's not your job to get into these things. It's their job to get you into these things. So pick up any old comic that has a cool cover on it. Don't worry about the issue number, or don't worry about what goes on in it. Just read it and enjoy it for its own self-contained thing. And you can do it with the old ones, and you can do it with the new books too. Again, a great way to turn yourself on to new writer, new artist, new publisher, whatever, is just pick up a smattering of comics. Just pick up some random back issues that have cool covers. Maybe it's part 6 of 12. Maybe it's part 4 of 44. It doesn't matter. Make them want you to read the other 40 parts. Read that one. And if that one changes your life, then you're off on a new adventure.
And you can spend 20 years trying to fill the run at that point.
Exactly. Back when I was a kid, I read that Avengers 172, and it made me want to read the previous 171, and it made me want to keep reading the book for the rest of my life, and I have. They did their job. Other comics, I read a comic and went, meh. And I didn't want to read the previous 140 issues, and I didn't want to read the book for the rest of my life. No biggie. But like I say, that's how comics are sort of always meant to be, is that each comic is your first comic. And don't worry so much about the commitment, especially now in these times when we're just looking for something fun to read. Just pick up a book and read it, and if you like it, keep reading it. It's that simple.
Do you guys have any questions for us? Let us know how you're doing. You guys doing okay out there in the ether? Everyone's staying healthy, happy, trying to de-stress as much as possible? Leave us a comment. Give us a thumbs up if you're okay.
Any new book you're reading you're excited about?
Yes.
Any old books you're reading and excited about?
We purposely aren't talking about this week's books in detail because we know that most of you haven't gotten yours yet. We shipped out everything as fast as we could this week, but you probably won't get it until early next week. So, wah, wah, no spoilers for you guys.
But you'll be able to read them and catch up in time for next Saturday.
Yeah, maybe next Saturday we can talk about all the new books, all the goodies. So I haven't seen any comments. I guess that means you're not okay. What does that mean? I don't think no news is good news in this sense.
Well, you know, I talk enough for everybody.
So again, just to reiterate, for those of you who just jumped in, we're doing great. You know, store's going to be here. Don't you worry about a thing. Even though there's no new books coming for a little while, we'll be fine. We'll be putting all kinds of back issues and things online. Again, if there's certain things you want us to see or you want to see on the online store, let us know so we can prioritize it for you. I'll be putting supplies up here shortly. Current bags and boards, silver bags and boards, resealable bags. I can't put boxes on there because we can't figure out how to ship them. But we can always put stuff on hold for you for when we reopen.
Good to hear, Michael.
Yay,
Stay
Michael.
supplied. Stay
Yeah.
busy. Keep having fun.
Turn the news off. You know, you don't need to be bombarded with this stuff 24/7.
It's all about keeping up your attitude, being a superhero in your community.
That's right.
All that good stuff.
Do as Captain America would do. Stay home.
Stay home. Stay safe.
Stay safe, America.
Yep, that's good times. So like we said, go to black-cat-comics.com, click on shop, pick yourself up something new, fun. People have been asking me. I super appreciate your support. I super appreciate your concern.
So much.
One thing everybody's been asking me, should we buy gift certificates? Does it help you guys out
Sweet. You guys are so sweet.
if we buy gift certificates? I'll say a few things to that. One, of course, first off, we super appreciate you doing what you want to do to keep us going, to support us through this time. We really appreciate that.
100%.
The two things I would encourage you to do: one, yes, by all means, pick up a gift certificate, but I want to quantify that by saying it's for you. The gift certificate, yes, you're supporting us. Yes, we're super stoked to receive that. But what it is, it's a commitment to you that we're going to get that door back open and you're going to be able to come in here and buy that gift certificate. So buy the gift certificate from a place of looking forward to having fun in the future. Buy that gift certificate not because you're scared for us or because you feel bad for us, because we don't want you to be scared. We don't want you to feel bad. We want you to be optimistic. We want you to look forward to having fun. So if you want to, pick up a gift certificate and look forward to getting into the shop and spending it on something fun. But more specifically, what I'd rather you did was buy a book. Instead of a gift certificate, buy yourself a comic. Buy something fun. Do one of these things like I'm talking about. Buy something you've never heard of before. Buy something from a publisher you've never heard of, from a character you've never heard of. Buy something you've never heard of, and you will be supporting Black Cat Comics. And at the same time, hopefully, you'll be turning yourself on to something new, fun, cool, and exciting.
Win-win-win.
Win-win-win.
Yeah.
And that's what life should all be about.
That's right. Well, cats and kittens, I think that's it for this episode of Black Cat Comics live store chat, unless anyone's got any more questions or comments for us.
Questions, comments, concerns, suggestions.
Again, we want to thank you guys for joining us. We missed you guys. We miss having you in the store. So this is our chance to kind of check in and see how you're doing and provide you with an opportunity to check in with us as well. So thank you for listening. Thank you for watching.
Thanks for being here with your fellow comic book community. Stay safe, stay healthy, keep having fun, and we'll see you next Saturday. Thanks for watching.
Bye, guys.